Be greeted, matriculants. We're going to have a look at a discussion of The Last Breath by Sam Kahiga. So here we go. It is most advisable that you listen to Mrs. Kukamu's reading and explanation of The Last Breath, as you can find it on Ekurhuleni FM 93.9 podcast. It is called Teaching Lesson 1, and it was on 25 April 2020, and it's just over an hour. It is extremely fabulous and highly insightful. When we look at the background of the author, we find that Sam Kahiga was born in Oosterlig, Kenya in 1946. He studied art and design at Nairobi University College and then worked for the national broadcaster, becoming a documentary filmmaker. He later turned to full-time writing and has written short stories and novels. He has also been a musician and a painter. In this story, the narrator is in love with and wants to marry a young woman called Eva. The narrator's father is worried about the marriage because Eva is blind. Thus, the conflict in the story is between the narrator and his father. His mother is more of a peacemaker, worried about both people. The reader should look at how this challenge is faced and who changes as the story develops. Vocabulary. On page 117, the word mute means silent or speechless. Swiftly is quickly. Hoarse is croaky, husky, or rough, especially in relation to a voice. Beating home the fact means bringing a point across strongly. Grim is very serious or gloomy. A glimpse is a quick look. Swerved, changed direction abruptly. On page 118, cautiously means carefully. Impassioned means emotional or passionate. Stubborn is obstinate, immovable. Savagely, angrily, brutally, or violently. Outcast is an outsider in society. To plunge is to throw or force or push. An outburst is a sudden display of emotion. And misery, a feeling of great mental distress or discomfort. On page 119, urgent is insistent. Stammered, speak with sudden involuntary pauses and a tendency to repeat the initial letters of words. Stunned, you are so shocked that you are temporarily unable to react. You are astonished. Bleak is miserable, dreary, or depressing. Dimples is indentation in the cheek caused by smiling. Opaque, something is not clear, it is thick, it is dense. Cornea is the membrane covering the front of the eye, usually it is transparent. On page 120, we find the word wry. It's ironic or dry, as in humor, and queer means strange or perplexing. When we look at the characters, the narrator, it's a first-person narrator. He wanted to study music but is now working in a bank. He has a limited view of events. He is impetuous. He has a passionate love and admiration for Eva, and he is determined. The narrator's father has his son's best interest at heart. He has lung cancer. He becomes an organ donor to make his son's dream come true. The narrator's mother is a peacemaker. She loves her husband and son equally, and she likes Eva. Eva is a blind lady. She's adorable in personality. She's patient. She's compassionate. She goes for a cornea transplant. The setting. We do not know which town or which country, but we do know the following. It's at a school for the blind at the beginning and at a graveside at the end. We also know it takes place from June to August. The title, Last Breath. A last breath normally refers to someone's death. So by reading the title, we should already be warned that something is going to happen, someone is going to pass away. There are quite a number of themes in this short story, being figuratively blind, misunderstanding people's motives because of limited points of view. We also find generation gap. Parents and children have different points of view. Commitment, the narrator to Eva, the father to his son. We also find that love conquers all. Also discrimination, especially against differently abled people. We find conflict and control, selflessness, sacrifice, gratitude, change. Please remember that you must always be able to link the theme to what happens in the short story. If they ask you about themes, then please give the example where it can be found in the short story. Figures of speech on page 117. The roar of the engine, onomatopoeia. It sounds like a roaring lion. When he says anger flooded through me, personification, the conflict escalates between the father and the son. Then give her eyes, metaphor. He did not mean it literally, although in the end that is literally what happens. So this could also be an example of irony. Thought Eva as a blind, helpless creature. Metaphor, Eva is dehumanized. She's seen as a creature. Stolen my heart, a metaphor for falling in love. Caught a glimpse of the angel in her. Metaphor, Eva is compared to an angel. Page 117 continues. For now, the mad roar of the car would have drowned anything less. A progression in the car's sound, but also personification. It reflects the anger within the characters. A terrible cough shook his frame. Personification. The cough was severe. And the car swerved dangerously to the edge of the road. Juxtaposition. The relationship between the father and the son is regressing like a car that dangerously swerves, as if it is a disaster waiting to happen. The car is thus also a symbol of their relationship. Page 118. Suddenly seized by a wave of feeling and passion. Personification and metaphor. The emotions are overwhelming like a tsunami. I have brought sunshine into her life. Metaphor, love and joy. If I left her, I'd plunge her back into darkness. A metaphor that shows the emotional isolation that Eva will experience if the narrator left her. And she has brought sunshine into my life too. An example of a metaphor, happiness. What empty words, not meant literally. My happiness was in Eva's hand, a metaphor. Implied control of feelings. Hand for marriage, a metaphor. Thus plunging me into the depths of misery, metaphor. It shows depression without Eva in his life. Page 119. A voice that chilled my heart, personification. It shows bad news is to come. We find a larger space in the topography and it shows a time that has passed. June passed away and with it most of the sunshine, a metaphor for sadness. Most of the time the weather was bleak and the sky dark and grey, again metaphor, the emotional state of hopelessness and sadness. And a dark shadow lay on our home, still metaphor, depressing feelings. This could also be an allusion to the Bible, Psalm 23, when it says, Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, that shows to the narrator's father who is dying. Sunshine seemed forever gone from my mother. A metaphor, happiness is gone from a life as a husband is on his deathbed. How could I ever leave this angel? Extended metaphor, the idea of Eva being an angel continues. Page 120. The ring symbolizes the bond between the narrator and Eva, their commitment. The ellipsis that we find is what is written between the ellipses is where he escapes to in his dream world, what he imagined it would be like to ask his the love of his life one day to marry him. Lump of excitement in my throat is an example of a metaphor. It shows utter excitement or the fact that he's nervous. I'd never seen her looking like this, happy and bright as an angel. Similarly, Eva is compared to an angel. The next example of ellipsis, I don't quite see. It shows hesitation and the fact that he does not understand. I saw a tear creep down her cheek. Personification, it shows Eva's emotion. Someone who is about to cross over. It's a euphemism to show someone who is about to pass away. My heart was beating hard and loud with unspeakable joy, but sorrow was equally great. Antithesis. He is happy for her transplant, but he has mixed emotions. He's sad that she did not accept his proposal, and of course he is sad due to his father who is about to pass away. Page 120 continued. The large space in typography again shows time passing. July 2 passed away. It's a pun on the fact that the father had passed away indeed, literally. And a great grey blanket, again metaphor for sadness, seemed to have been lifted back to let the sun smile again. Personification and metaphor to show happiness. On page 121, the oranges looked beautiful and yellow in the sun. It's a bright color. It symbolizes the fruit of the narrator's father's selflessness. Smile dying on my face, personification. It shows his sadness. Your last breath, symbolic of death, also a euphemism for death. Each time she looks at me with those lovely eyes, synecdoche, it also refers to the father's cornea. Mute grave, personification, a grave cannot speak. Aspects of the short story, and this is very short. The exposition. We meet the narrator and his father after the narrator had introduced him to Eva, the narrator's blind girlfriend whom he wants to marry against the will of his father. The rising action is the conflict between the father and son, and also the fact that the father is shown to have lung cancer. The climax is found when Eva refuses the narrator's marriage proposal in order to first undergo surgery to be able to see again. And then the denouement, it's made clear that the father passes away, but that he donates his corneas to Eva so that she might see again. The father ensures his child's happiness, and his son, the narrator, thanks him for it. This is the last breath in short. I really once again want to encourage you to go look for the podcast of Mrs. Kukemoer's reading and explanation. She does it exquisitely. Please, ladies and gentlemen, remember to answer the questions as well as the vocabulary test. I will be posting the memo of these on Edmodo. Once again, if you are not part of Edmodo, please contact me and I will make sure that you get added to the group. On Friday, we are going to have a look at creative writing. So please have your creative writing script with you on Friday. Have a great day, matriculants. Stay safe.